many days, and I know you're in it right now. This is the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Even though it's like you enjoy it, but like
Yeah.
it's the last thing you want to do.
All right, everyone. I'm here with another episode of TriChats, and I'm excited to have my friend and colleague Bob here with me today. I brought Bob on to talk a little bit more about a topic that I think is very personal to all of us, which is balancing our triathlon prep or our race prep with everything else that's going on in our lives. Because we know that we don't just show up as a triathlon runner or participant, but we're also living a life. So Bob's had that experience. We're going to delve a little bit into that. But first, I'm just going to ask if he gives us a little bit of an overview of the experience that you've had with races. Like, what races have you done? Have you done strictly triathlons? Have you done running races?
So, no, thank you, Stephen. So did triathlons first. I did later do a marathon because I guess from the training, but no, for me, triathlons is one of those things. My wife is incredibly active. She's done 5 or 6 marathons. But I swam in high school. I wasn't the best swimmer, but I like swimming. And she's like, you should do a triathlon or like an aqua bike because you don't like running all that much, and that's not your thing. But it'll keep you active, and you'll do that. So I did my first triathlon 2 months after our first daughter was born. So it was one of those things where it's trying to fit out everything in.
Yeah.
I've done Atlantic City. I've done Escape the Cape. I've done a New York City triathlon. I've done most local triathlons that are in the South Jersey region. And again, I did New York City the 1 year. I think that's the last year. One of the last years they did it because you can't swim in the Hudson anymore. But no, overall for
Swimming
me,
your own risk.
yeah, it was. The only cool thing about swimming in the Hudson though is that you go so fast because the current is so.
Yeah.
So apparently, an ice cream wrapper does the mile swimming like 21 minutes. So as long as you are getting out there and going. But no, so did it to kind of stay in shape. Played sports growing up and in college, and always liked training and doing the things. But when you have a family and growing family, it's hard to kind of devote to something that's the same time every day, kind of like athletics was for me. So triathlon was a good way to kind of segue into trying to take care of myself and be a good example for the kids.
Yeah, and you did some marathons too, right?
So I did one marathon. I did Philly. It was really again, I've learned to get better at running, but running is definitely the worst of my three, of the sports. It's definitely my worst leg of the whole, the triathlon. But I know some people like, oh, I get the runner's high. I've yet to feel like that running, but it was an accomplishment. I think there's something cool. I've done Broad Street a couple times. Same type of thing in levels of training, but it's running is one of those things that it does allow you to kind of zone in and kind of keep in what you're doing. But I really like the idea of triathlon because it is 3 different things. You have to train, you have to kind of transition what you're doing, obviously go through transition in general. But overall, no, just like trying to stay active, and it's something that not being very good at necessarily any of the 3, it allows you to kind of keep improving and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and I guess it probably helps that your wife is into it too because she understands. I'm sure that there are people out there who maybe are in this themselves, but maybe have commitments or whatever to people who don't fully understand, what's involved or why they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you, having a partner and a wife that allows me to, do those things, and vice versa. I mean, when she was training for races, it's kind of understanding that on Saturday mornings for a 3-hour clip, she's just not going to be there. But also, I can remember, and I'm glad I did my first marathon with her because there were mornings at 5 a.m. on Saturday. I didn't want to do it. No, I don't want to get up out of bed. It's the summer. I'm not looking to train. It's 85 degrees. No, I don't want to go. We live down by Atlantic City, so there's not many hills. So you run the bridges to the beaches to kind of to replicate what a hill would look like. No, I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go run, the Ocean City bridges to make sure I feel better about myself. But having that accountability is good, but also having someone to understands that what it's like to struggle, not have a good run or not have a good swim or, to be banged up or, to, have some bike issues. It's good to have someone that you can kind of relate that with, but also knowing that, that shared commitment to our health and kind of showing our kids like, hey, it's okay to be healthy and commit to something and kind of put the time in, but it does get difficult when you have to sometimes do it very late or very early or try to steal a swim in your lunch break. It's not always easy, but I can tell you that and it's funny because the medal doesn't necessarily mean anything other than
Yeah,
you complete.
yeah,
It is definitely one of the more gratifying things that you get because you
yeah.
know, triathlon's one of those things like it's hard to fake.
Yeah,
Like you have to actually do a lot of the work, even if you do
yeah,
minimal work, you still have to get through it. And even
yeah,
at the easiest days, it's not very easy.
yeah. And since Bob, Bob mentioned his firstborn when he had first kind of delved in triathlons, we are now at 4 children,
4 children, yes, 4 children.
which is a little bit different. I can't say that I can relate or will ever relate, but that kind of segues into the next piece of like, how did you like? What does a typical training schedule look like, or what did a typical training schedule look like when you were at the peak of doing these races?
So it was 3 to 4 days a week. I tried to
Mhm.
keep it pretty consistent on the same day. I tried to keep Sundays as a long run day or a brick day or whatever else was
Mhm.
needed that day. Um, I I'm not necessarily a morning person, but I don't mind getting up when I need to, and
Mhm.
so it's really then trying to carve out what that looks like. Lucky to work at a place obviously that had a pool,
Yep.
so
Yep.
lunch I would steal a lot of pool. Obviously, live very lucky to live by the ocean, and swimming is by far my strongest
Mm.
event. So very comfortable jumping in the water and
Yep.
swimming,
Mm.
and then kind of going to open swims. Like I mean, very lucky that the triathlon community in the southern New Jersey, Philly area is very strong. There's open lake swims up here in Marlton.
Mhm.
There was open swims in Atlantic City and in Margate and Ocean
Mm.
Lake, so you can jump in and I think it was a few bucks for the guarded, like to make sure someone's guarding you. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and they'd set up 3 buoys and you'd swim for as long as you want. So to go for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever
Yep.
it may be. But the scheduling it makes it easier when you can lock in to say, hey,
Mhm.
I'm doing it today. I think it's one thing with triathlon, especially, it's hard to make up the days, and it's so like eventually like it's not like going to the gym in the sense like, oh, I
Mhm.
missed the gym today, I'll go tomorrow.
Right.
It's like here, it's like, all right, I missed the workout today. How does that affect me for the rest of the week?
Mhm.
Um, Especially when I was early on, when like I'm glad I had someone that told me like practice. I didn't really do any brick workouts for my first triathlon, but they
Mm.
told me to after you bike to run a mile, run a quarter mile, run whatever. When you swim, after you swim, get on the bike, and I think that was very very helpful in future triathlons. Obviously, I did bigger
Mm.
brickwork and I did things like that, but that's the kind of stuff that it's hard to kind of push the kick the can down the lane. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure you're ready and you can lock into that schedule as much as you can. Like weather, like the weather, you learn how to run in the rain, you learn how to
Mhm.
bike in the rain,
Mhm.
you learn the ocean's cold. Okay, like
Yeah.
it's like it's not
Yep.
or there's seaweed today or there's like you kind of learn to just kind of okay, this is what it is
Yeah.
today and
Yeah.
kind of make the most of it.
Yep. Yep. It's funny because people have told me the training's harder than the race.
Oh, without
It's
you know
like,
what? If you're
you know,
doing it right, yeah,
yeah,
I've been on the side where I haven't made the training harder than the race,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there have been times where I'm like, "What the hell am I doing? Like, this was a mistake because I did not put in the
yeah.
work. Well, I put in enough work to get through, not necessarily
Mhm.
to kind of to thrive in the race. Where other times when you put the work in, the race is incredibly rewarding. You're usually swimming more, biking more, running more than
Yep.
the distance. It's a really rewarding feeling to know that you have enough in the tank to get through everything.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned with your wife, she kind of set aside those Saturday mornings. Have there been other experiences where you've kind of had to work on, or you've kind of honed at this point, coordinating and communicating with your wife or others to make sure you get that training schedule in, despite having 4 kids? So,
No,
like, what does that look like for
it's
you?
paramount. I mean, like even if it's not racing or if it's not running or if it's just your personal health or your
Mhm.
personal well being, I think having those open communications with your with your wife, with your partner, with your kids. I mean, like we
Mhm.
have 4 kids that are incredibly active and we love that. We're both incredibly active, so but even that sometimes throws a lot of wrenches into your calendar. So about who's driving, where are they driving, what are you doing,
Mhm.
and then again, something that I didn't realize before, I would even say before kids or even before, having a partner and being married and all that fun stuff, is that, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Like, so there's some days where you're like, I didn't do as well as I thought, or I didn't swim as well as or I didn't get the run in,
Mhm.
or I lifted it, it was crappy or whatever it may be, is that you did something. And
Mm.
again, more days you do something, the benefit is immense as opposed to, all right, I'll get to it tomorrow.
Right.
And again, triathlon, especially because it catches up with you, but in life, it's like, I can't tell you how many, especially recently where, the kids are running around crazy. We have a work that it's a dynamic environment where there is high levels of flexibility some days, and there's some
Mhm.
days where there's
Mhm.
zero flexibility. Like you just kind of have to roll with those punches sometimes. Like where on a day, like yeah, I can take an hour swim, and that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Or the next day, like I'm not getting home until midnight. So it's more
Mm.
making sure you can lock into that schedule. But I think communicating that to your support system, and
Mm-hmm.
like, but also I think more importantly, I think for me it was accountability. I
Mm-hmm.
told someone I'm doing this today, and I'm very lucky to have someone in my life that says, "Hey, you said you're
Mm-hmm.
doing this. You need to follow through." And then trying to be an example for your kids or your community or whatever that is for you. I mean, I think that's something like, "Hey, I told people I'm going to do this. I've got to follow through," and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's been incredibly helpful because there are many days, and I know you're in it right now. This is the last thing you want to do,
Yeah.
even though it's
Yeah.
like you enjoy it, but like
Yeah.
it's the last thing you want to do. But there's no, it's hard to equate that feeling after you do it.
Right.
Like the training is like, wow, I pushed. I feel tremendous now. Like you could be tired,
Yep.
want to go to sleep right there, but there's like a euphoria afterwards. Like, hey, I know I did it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of continuing to show up like that.
So you mentioned the whole like, well, I did something today. Like I feel like that speaks a little bit to your overall mindset with it all. Um, have you found yourself kind of making mental shifts as you think about like getting training in, but also kind of having to negotiate like family time? Like, how do you kind of balance that and find ways to prioritize both? Like,
No, I think to your point is I think when I first started, I would do it at the same time every day, and it became part of the routine. And then
mm-hmm.
obviously had a baby, and life changes. But I think you have to be okay with like, um, okay, I get to do this at 3 o'clock today, and that's not ideal, and I'm going
Yeah.
to do it at 3 o'clock because I have to do it at 3 o'clock today. I think that's something that's important that you start to prioritize your time a bit differently. Not that you're not go all the time, but you're really
Mm-hmm.
starting to lock in like I need this hour and a half. And sometimes, like for swimming, I need this 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I just need 20 minutes. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out. And I think once you get used to saying, okay, I'm prioritizing this at
Mm-hmm.
some point during the day, I think for some people that's very hard. Like my wife is very much more of a type like, hey, I'm doing this at 6. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Where I'm a little bit more like, I just need to get this done today. I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think having someone on the one end where it's like, no, need to get it done, and just giving yourself a touch of grace, saying, okay, I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to go for a 20-mile bike ride at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the baby had to do this, or my family called to do this, or work called I had to do something. I'm doing it 9 o'clock at night, and again, that's not ideal. It's probably not the best bike ride or best training session you ever had,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a training session, and
Yeah.
I think having that flexibility goes a long way. It definitely teaches you about life in the sense that yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have everything done by noon so I can do
Yep.
X, Y, and Z, but as we were walking in, I got a call about, hey, is this done yet?
Mm-hmm.
No, okay, well, I got to figure that out in the next
Yeah.
3 hours, and that's
Yep.
kind of how life revolves around with the event's coming, but
Yeah.
how the training works. It looks, and plus too, to that point, training looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
Like some people like to be overly trained, some people like to train lately, some people like to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely there's I think the consistency that I've learned as the more I did them, it's more about the consistency of action as opposed to
Yeah.
doing it when you feel well. When I
Right.
feel like there, and early on I did it when I felt well, and I would do more when I felt well,
Mm.
and that hasn't always been a recipe for success. The day,
Yeah.
like when I say older, but when I got more busier, I got much better at saying it's got to be here, it's got to be on this day, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be to what I said the pre-plan was, even if I'm feeling amazing, or even if I'm feeling crappy, where I don't want to do, a mile swim. I'm only going to
Mm-hmm.
do, a half mile. No, it's a mile swim. You have to figure that out for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I've been trying to do like I don't know that I've sat down like at the beginning of the week and wrote out, hey, like Monday I'm gonna do the swimming, Monday Tuesday I'm gonna do this. Um, I probably should do that. I've been trying to do like each event twice in the week. Like okay, 2 swims, 2 bikes, 2 runs, and then if I can get bricks in there as part of it, like that's a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't really like drilled down to like a schedule. And I was talking with John, who is one of the other people who's being interviewed, and he was saying like, okay, I've got my whole like year planned or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got to get on it because I don't, haven't at least yet gotten to a point where I'm really committing myself to a firm schedule like every week. You know?
Also, it's too. Like, I mean, I think like every person's different in what
Mm-hmm.
the level of outcome is. Like, I think it's also a feeling of accomplishment, what that looks like for you, in the sense that like, hey, I want to do this, and I want. Plus, too, it's like when the triathlon is like, there's there's naturally going to be events that you need, even if it's more of a mental thing, you need
Mm-hmm.
more work.
Yeah.
So like for me, I knew swimming was something I could do pretty comfortably, and like so I didn't worry. My swim workouts I did more sometimes because I knew it felt good and I knew I had levels of comfort. Where running,
Yeah.
I was trying to not do as much running because,
Yeah.
and I paid for that a couple times. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, my lesson learned. I probably need to that, and plus too, it's also you think about this time of the event. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, for a sprint, I mean, you could be in the water for 8 minutes.
Yep.
And you can
Yep.
run a bike for 30 minutes to an hour. You're on a run for 30 minutes to an hour. Like,
Yeah.
so like me training equally for that was
Mhm.
only to fuel my ego as opposed to actually get me ready for a race.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's all to the person because at the end of the day, you see people of different sizes, different builds, different athleticism,
Yep.
and some of them thrive because, and it's I think it's finding the way that works best for you and what makes you be able to kind of work at the level of output you want.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Do you it's funny because when I was writing question, I was like, were there any moments when life's gotten in the way? And I'm like, well, that's a stupid question. Of course, there are moments when life's gotten in the way. You just shared one a little earlier. But like, it sounds like you, like, it almost sounds like you kind of have like a backup plan if something happens. Is that,
Yeah,
am
so
I
no, so you always
on?
have to give yourself the grace, but also too, and this is something that I've learned in my professional life, and I can only be in one place at a time.
Mhm.
So like if I'm training for something, I'm only training.
Yeah.
I can't. Not that I'm not worried about what's happening in the world, but I'm training.
Mhm.
Like if I'm in a meeting now, I try to be very focused on the meeting.
Mhm.
And God forbid something catastrophic happens where I need to
Yeah.
leave, but for the most part, that conversation can wait 7 minutes.
Yeah.
That can wait. I mean, I know sometimes like training, especially when I was on like running, I'd like my mind like, okay, I have to go pick up groceries, or I have to, I have to do
Mm.
yard work, or I have to take my kid. Like sometimes I've learned more and more, and even outside of triathlon, but more just in general, like working out. Hey, I've got an hour.
Mhm.
My hour is to moving these weights or going
Yeah.
for the run or doing whatever, because you learn that you can't be present. Same thing like in meetings. If I'm and we've been in meetings where you're like, okay, I've got to after this, I got to do this, I got to do that.
Mhm.
It's like like you're not getting the most out of it, and
Yeah.
that kind of show up. So I would say for me, I've learned more and more as my life has gotten busier.
Mhm.
Doing 30 minutes of your best work is a lot better than doing an hour of you being like not there. Consistency is the thing that shines through on race day. You can tell the people that are doing it. And swim especially. Swim's one of those that you can tell who's not been in the water.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
running. Some people are athletic. They can, or the bikes. Most people have ridden a bike before. They can get through the
Yeah.
10, 15, whatever especially if it's a sprint or Olympic. But the swim is the one area.
Mhm.
Hey, you didn't put in the work. People can tell immediately.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, I'm trying not to be that person. So we'll see. But I've been doing the open water swim in Medford at Lake Okanagan,
Yeah.
which has been really helpful. The first time I did one lap around, which is like 400 yards, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I can't do anymore. And then the last time I did 2 laps around. So I feel like I'm trying to at least celebrate the little wins. And
But I think that's what it is. I think
yeah,
it's like putting yourself in the scary environment.
yeah.
It's almost like, I mean, in our world, like public speaking, people don't like doing it, but people don't
Mhm.
put themselves out there either. And plus, too, it's like, if you haven't put on a wetsuit you would think is very comfortable. Mine's terribly uncomfortable. I mean, maybe because I
Mm.
was probably too big for the size I had. I was not
Yeah,
returning it or whatever. But wearing a tri suit feels really cool in the pool.
yeah,
But then it's also like, okay, you got to know, like, okay, it rubs me here. I got to make sure I have
yep.
glide to make sure that, hey, like I know one of the races I didn't put any on my neck, and I
Mm.
had and I didn't, because I'm thinking, okay, I have it on my arm. I have every place that you think that you would need it, and I didn't put it on my neck, and I had
Oh.
like a necklace on for a week. But it's one of those things that I didn't try it on before I went
Yep.
to race day. Same thing with sneakers or bikes and all those things. I think putting yourself out there to do the scary, the thing is just if the open water is like, oh, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
That's the thing. You always trust in the training. You always fall back to like, hey, I put myself out there that, yes, I can't imagine you're going to jump in. I'm not even sure
Mhm.
if you can jump in the inlet where the Yangtze, like
I know
the
we run in. I don't
so
know
I'm
if
saying
you
I'm not
can
sure if you
jump.
can. I'm not sure if you can jump in it now. Like I'm not sure
Oh,
if like one of
oh,
the.
oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not like you
Right.
can.
You can't just go and
It's not like
swim there.
it's
Yeah.
there's a race in the ocean. I can jump in the ocean, or
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
race. I did a
Yep.
race in Tuckahoe in the bay. I jumped in that bay
Yes.
and
Yeah.
realized like it's murky, muddy water, but
Mhm.
you can stand. So it's like there's same thing with you. Like you might be able to stand depending on when the tide is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's there's comfort in knowing that this isn't the first time I put on a wetsuit.
Yep.
This isn't the first time I did all the actions of the race. Yes, it might be my first quote unquote race, but you can trust like, hey, no, I've done a transition in my driveway.
Yeah.
Like again, and stuff like that seems silly. It is incredibly important.
Yeah. Everyone says try not to do anything for the first time on race day.
It's so interesting. Yeah, my wife was very big on like nothing new race day, nothing new race day all the time. Even running, nothing new race day. Have you worn that shirt before? Have you worn? Because when we did Philly, I'm like, it was cold. I'm like, I look good. I felt good about myself. And she's like, you didn't wear that. Go run in that. And I go, what do you mean? Because what are you nuts? Like, but I was like, but that other shirt I wore on our 20-mile trek, it was hideous. Like I just threw it on because it was cold. And she goes, yeah, but you wore it and felt okay. I would wear that, and then she was right. I mean, it's one of those things like, okay, you're right. I have to have some level of comfort. I know if I wore in Philly, it's November, so and it was 40 degrees, it snowed. Like you have to wear. I'm wearing tights. Okay, what is that like? I wore gloves. I wore an extra pair of gloves. Like so things I'm glad I did because to her, but for me, I'd be like, no, we're gonna wing it and figure it out. And those are not days to wing it. And figure it out.
Yeah. So as we close up, there's probably a lot of people who are watching this who are in that boat of maybe have signed up for something, or maybe their fears around time management and being able to prioritize are keeping them from signing up. So like, what advice would you have for folks who may be concerned about balancing triathlon prep with family commitments, work commitments, whatever it might be, who are maybe thinking about it?
I mean, honestly, if you're that concerned, I would do a time audit beforehand and find out, like, where's my time going? I would say, I don't want to say for most of us. For me, I can say I'm busy all the time, but I waste a lot of time during the day where I could have been training or I could have been doing this. And once you do that, I think there's a level of comfort. Like, okay, I have the time during the day to devote to the race. Now, granted, when you get to different levels of like, you're doing an Ironman or you're doing like even a half, like those are like you have to be in. No one knows your level of commitment to the day of the race. It's like walking into a test that we assumed you studied for, and then we're going to see right away if you studied for the test. Like, and everyone's going to see it. So, I think that's the most important thing is making sure that hey, if you made a commitment to the race and your health is there, obviously you want to prioritize your health and make sure that you're not hurting yourself or and but knowing that okay, I've done the work and I can do those things. But for most of us, when you do that time audit, it's okay. Can I wake up at 5 to 6? And I think and your younger child, no, not so. I feel like not so young anymore. But when you have younger children, the things that you do on no sleep, and I'm not advocating sleep is an incredibly important rest, but like if it means getting 30 minutes less of sleep, can you do it? Yeah. Can it means prioritizing something different? Yeah. And the thing is, it's a commitment though. But I can tell you, it's very hard to replicate the feeling of being like a quarter mile out of your race, knowing that you did the work. And I think that's the one really cool thing is that building that community, knowing that hey, you have all those tools at your hands and you can do all that stuff.
Yeah, no, this is great, and I hope that those of you who are watching at least leave with a little bit more confidence to know that what you think you might not be able to do, you may be able to do. Like I feel like my motivation was just signing up because now I'm like, okay, well, I'm committed, so I'm signed up. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, no, signing up and just going and doing it and kind of seeing it through it. Yeah, it goes a long way to really like kind of, and plus I think it builds such confidence that you can achieve some of those things. And I say this joking around, but if I can do a triathlon, I really agree anyone can.
Yeah.
Especially like run, like I despise running was just not in the. I could ride a bike and all that stuff, but to do those things and also get okay with my times and try to get better, I think there's a lot of things that triathlon is an equal playing field where your commitment to your training definitely shows. Like there's some fields where like, oh, that person's naturally athletic or naturally tall or naturally, and yes, all fields have that. But I can tell you, triathlon for sure is one that yes, there's equipment advantages, but at the end of the day, your training is what is going to dictate how enjoyable your race day is going to be. So that's one of those things that's in your hands, which is always really cool.
Yep. So there you have it, everyone. That is our episode on balancing all of these, all the things that go into triathlon preparation, or really, I think so much of it is relevant to training for a marathon or whatever other physical event you have that you're thinking about. So hopefully you were able to take something from that. Definitely stay tuned for other episodes. The whole point is to talk about things that we think will help you. But otherwise, in the meantime, thanks for trying with me, and I'll see you later.